All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, beautiful day, beautiful evening, beautiful sunrise, sunset, wherever you are, beautiful star. Shine, shine, shine. Thank you for being here. I will try to say hello to those who come in the chat. I am Courtney, host of Stars of the Morning Light. This is live on Friday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whenever you're catching this on the flip side, good day, good evening. I hope you are well. Today we are going to be talking about B. B-E. You beautiful beings. You INGs of the bee. Yes. Good morning. Good morning. I see that Seeker of Truth too. Shelly is in the chat. Good morning, my dear. I hope Neil is with you as well. Good morning, Neil. I know he is somewhat present somewhere. Oh, what a lovely morning it is to be with everyone. To I guess a card wanted to flip out. I am going back to our sacred geometry deck. That is what I do when people are moseying in. And I guess a card flipped out for us. This is for everybody this week. Oh. So I do these messages Friday morning. It has been quite a while. It did start long ago with going through the Emerald Tablets, that wonderful story. We can use all stories to explain all things. I used to be an English teacher, so that's how I feel about that matter. And I believe that we are all the most magnificent, beautiful stories, period. That is how I can access the Akashic, because you're all such wonderful stories. Our card for today, that's lovely. I don't know if we've gotten this in quite a while, is number 15, compassion. The frequency of compassion supports our ability to stand by others without judgment and be the divine mediator between heaven and earth, spirit and matter, so that unconditional love can flow from one source through our heart and into the world. Oh, that's lovely. I am going to hold this card up. Because of the colors of this card, I'm not sure how well it will come through. Let me turn my light up. Bright light. So I'm going to hold this up to the camera. Compassion. It's very, so here's the thing. Those colors, of course, I can see them probably better than you. It's all the little bubbles attached to the other bubbles, and there's rings of light throughout, and that's what you might not be able to see. I'm speaking about this as I hold it up because that is what compassion in action, let's say compassion in action, is. It's subtle. It's just being the light. Just being the light. Being a star of the morning. There are many ancient stories that start with back when the stars of the morning would be singing or something along those lines. And we are beautiful stars, beautiful shiny beings walking around on this planet. And this card can represent that halo, that glow that connects all things in subtlety and just the compassion. Oh, Seeker. Shelley said that she has the same deck. I forgot that you do, my dear. Um, she pulled number 43, transition. Well, maybe that's for you, my dear. Transition. Nice. Um, I think moving forward through this week and after we speak today, we'll understand why compassion. It's lovely. I will read it one more time for everyone. The frequency of compassion supports our ability to stand by others without judgment and be the divine mediator between heaven and earth, spirit and matter, so that unconditional love can flow from source through our heart and into the world. I mean, you just can't get better frequency than that, can you, folks? Oh my goodness. I'm going to put that card right here so I don't forget. Right there. Wow. Lovely, beautiful stars. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. Last Friday is when I kicked off doing this again at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time live to be with all of you. Um, I like doing it on Fridays because then we can discuss things, communi- communicate about stuff that then we can take with us through the following week. And I like doing that opposed to like a Sunday or a Monday because we get to have a little bit of time, at least some of us here in the States or wherever you are on this beautiful globe. Um, Most places, the weekend is a little bit free to do so. Um, Thoughts to ponder, words to discuss, ideas to be had. Makes my day. Makes me so happy. Last Friday, I introduced the idea of as to how humans were created. I would like to keep expounding upon that, right? And I had chosen earlier in the week, especially if you saw that video that I put out there about the levels of consciousness chart, which thank you, new subscribers. Um, Thank you for being here. I hope you appreciate and enjoy. Do enjoy. Thumbs up, please. And even old, thank you for leaving comments. Thank you for participating. Um, I do still need about 50 subscribers, so Lucky Stone 888 and I can go live on Friday night together. Tonight it is a pre-recorded video, so enjoy. Earlier in the week, I was like, I'm going to discuss being, to be, be, just be. I mean, we got to start there, right? Be. And through the week, I was like, yeah, okay, I got it. I got the topic. I'm good. I'm ready. I'm groovy. By the time I woke up refreshed this morning, I was like, what am I doing? What's going on? So, luckily, I have a lot of material in my life that I can pull from because Friday mornings, I'm usually in romance with life. I chose a long time ago, a very long time ago. I think I started doing that in like high school, a very long time ago, that Friday would be my day to be in romance of life. Romance just means a higher, elevated love. That's really what that word means. Doesn't mean anything that we, put onto it. That's what that word means, an elevated form of love. So when I learned that long time ago, I went, well, shoot, I can have an elevated form of love whenever I want, with whatever I want. I could go hug a tree and have an elevated form of love. So I started practicing that and I chose that Fridays. So I've been doing this for a very long time. Not going to say how long ago I was in high school. Um, that Friday would be my day to exercise that, to participate in it, to be in romance with all things that day. It's such a good day, opposed to maybe those days that is love present? Yes, but love has me pushing the lawnmower and doing all sorts of stuff. Gratitude is always there, but an elevated love, I don't know. So it's all choice, folks. In that regard, so last Friday we talked about how humans were created, like the three different types. But within that, I did say to everyone, all things have consciousness, and so therefore all things have a soul. I did say that. I know I said that. All things have consciousness, so therefore all things have a soul. I also know that some of the videos lately have posed new thoughts to people. So take your time. Take your time with things. Take your time with here at Stars of the Morning Light, right? This was entitled To Be or Not to Be, as we all know that from Shakespeare. And of course, when us humans read that, we read it in a way of like, should I or should I not? Some kind of comparison. Should I not? Instead of like, I think, therefore I am, right? Instead of that. We usually don't put it into the same context of that. So we have I think, therefore I am. Consciousness. So therefore I am. To be or not to be. Therefore I am. Very fascinating to maybe mix it. All things have consciousness. All things, and I want to make this clear too, even though I said it last Friday, all things, all people, places, and things, right? It doesn't matter if it's an ocean, a big oak tree, the grass, a human, a four-legged. All things of creation in creation were created in love and hope. All things. All things. I mean, I will tell you, I even was laying in bed one day and I was like, "Are you sure cockroaches were?" They were created in love and hope. I don't know about that. They don't really serve any purpose. They were created at some point. They are a part of creation. So, even like those types of things created in some kind of love and hope. By whom? That's the that's the dilemma. Whom? Whom created these things that are pests, right? So all things were created in love and hope. Even take the first beautiful oak tree. The first. The first. I don't know where it was, when it was, millions and millions of years ago and cycles ago. As I there are others talking about how humans have been here for millions of years. I'm finding videos about that, which is beautiful and wonderful because it is very true. So when I say millions, it's because I don't pay attention to all that numbered games that people play. Cycles end and cycles begin. Que sera, sera. So take that beautiful, original, beautiful oak tree that was created in hope and love. Well, everything in creation is of love, has the aspect of love within it. It also has hope. So when a being of a God, a source, love, love, created like the first oak tree, it also had that bit, it had the aspect of love within it, but it also had the aspect of hope. And hope that that little seedling, that little tree would one day grow into its full essence, right? Its full, big, beautiful, lovely, powerful oak tree self, right? So all things, even when we create, when we create these little babies, these little human babies, it our first thoughts is how much we love them and how much we hope all great things for them, that they can grow into the full potential of their complete essence, right? This is our hope. This is our hope in that love. So all things, I'm using different examples because it's all humans, all aspects in creation, all of creation has that there. When grass was created, oh, cover the earth. We hope that it is cut to cover the earth and help other animals, walk on and help to collect the water easier for this land. I mean, all the hope as to why that was created in the first place is present. So is all the love. So I just wanted to make that very clear that regardless of how humans come to be, regardless of how all aspects of creation come to be, it's not really that we have to figure that part out. That's not why waste our time, right? It is to accept and love and appreciate that hope and love is your beginning. It is your always. It is ever present within and around. To just acknowledge that and not question the how, right? And acknowledging that to be, to be. So I see Happy Hippie came on through. Good morning, Miss Robin. Happy Friday. Happy, happy, happy. I am going to be reading from some material because, like I said, I woke up this morning, days ago. If I had sent this message out, it probably could have gone very differently. Who knows? And this morning I woke up refreshed, like I said, and and I went, what am I saying? What am I doing? So I always will pull for resources because I do have many resources. And because I am noticing that many of you are participating and viewing and watching and enjoying the Edgar Casey Life Skill Studies that happens sometime on a Wednesday, depending on how my Wednesday goes. I appreciate that. I will inform everyone here on this Good Friday that long ago, before I started this YouTube channel, when I first learned what YouTube was, more so around 2016, 17, when I found out, oh, people do this sort of thing on there, podcast kind of sort thing. The Akashic was like, we want you to talk about Edgar Casey with the world. And that was what originally why I set out to do this whole YouTube channel was Edgar Casey. I think I needed a year of not discussing Edgar to kind of catch my bearings here with this YouTube stuff. Do I have my bearings? No. So I moved on. Now I do discuss Edgar Casey, and it's at least in the views and the remarks, comments, and likes and shares. The Akashic was right. There you go. The Akashic was right. I should have started with Edgar, and I will always. So now I know that, and I will participate with you in learning more about him and the Akashic. With that being said, one of my sources for this morning, I went, well, I know the topic is B, B, B-E, you beautiful beings, I-N-G. So could you imagine if we B-E, B, and then hyphen I-N-G? Like if we broke it up just for a minute, because we're all beautiful beings, right? Everything's a beautiful being. A being, B hyphen ing. This is just for in our mind to imagine how that would be, how that would appear different and feel different if we saw it that way. Now, here's a little English for English so everybody knows. When we add ing to any word, it makes it a verb then. It makes it you are in the act of. You are doing. So, walking, sleeping, dancing, right? Ing makes something a verb, the act of doing, right? So we find that fascinating then if we take be, and we're adding ing to it. So is the act of be. Hmm, that makes being. And so you all know too, ing makes it a present participle, which means it is the act of doing, and there is no, it's an ongoing act. It's we're doing it now and we're going to keep going. Now, normally the ing doesn't do that, but in this case, we could see it that way. We could. If you wrote it in a sentence structure, it'd be different. But that's okay. We're not teaching sentence structure right here. But I do want you to pay attention that the ing to being is the act of doing. And it could be considered that we are doing it now and it will continue to go on. It would be written a bit different, if I was teaching sentence structure right now, but I don't know if the world cares so much about sentence structure anymore. But that's fine. We're looking at that aspect. Be, and then ing is the act of, the action, the verb. So being is you are in the action of be. I'm going to go back and read our sacred geometry card one more time before I really jump into what we're going to be reading today for this. So, right as I began, a card kind of jumped out at us today. Let me see. We have Chloe in here. Good to see you. Lori in here. Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. The sacred geometry card that really jumped out was number 15, compassion. The frequency of compassion supports our ability to stand by others without judgment and be the divine mediator between heaven and earth, spirit and matter, so that unconditional love can flow from source through our heart and into the world. I will hold this card up again. It is a subtle card, as in you might not be able to make out all of the colors and rings of light. But once again, it is in that subtlety of compassion. Actually, this camera just doesn't even want to focus too well on it. It is in that subtlety of compassion that the light shines through the most, right? So good morning. Good morning, everyone. You beautiful beings. You beings of compassion and love and hope and grace. You be in action. Okay, so this morning I grabbed a few different sources and we are going to start in the Edgar Casey Companion. So during which, when I do my Edgar Casey series, I often, if we're in one of his books, I reference the fact that there are companion books to help people expound on their learning and studying. A companion book to really anything is, well, I shouldn't say that. A companion book in this context is it is just all of his readings. It's readings and then there's numbers attached to it. So like that is when you're studying um text that need you to be able to reference something else. So this is just a reference book. But it's interesting when we just read his words, his messages. So I will read some of this to you. And this is from The Soul is All the Entity Has Been and May Be. And when we say the word entity, when I read this, I would like for all of us to put the word being in it. Entity, being, right? The soul is all that the entity is, has been, or may be. So I'm going to read that again to put the word being in there. The soul is all that the being is, has been, or may be. Man in his former state, or natural state, or prominent consciousness is soul. So in the last video, like I said, regardless of how someone or something has come into creation, there is consciousness. And if there is consciousness, therefore there is a soul. Know that ye are a soul, and do not merely attain to one. The soul is an individuality that may grow to be one with or separate from the whole. Only in man is there an existence of the soul that is not just universal but individual, capable of becoming as a god, as one with the creative forces. So, what they're meaning there, because these are all his readings, is when they're saying only in human, only when they say man, they mean human. Only in human is there an existence of the soul that is not just universal, but individual. That is the human free will. I continuously try to explain to people how unique that is to us. It is fascinating how unique the human free will is to us, and it pains me when um people think that they aren't able to exercise it as much as they think, or as much as they're able to. We're exercising it all the time. We're using it for our own creation, for our own identity, all of that stuff. That is what this is referencing. That in man, I'm going to read it again. Only in man is there the existence of the soul that is not just universal. So it is universal. If it can flow throughout all things, we are connected to all things, no separation, but also individual, capable of becoming as a god, lower G, as one with the creative forces. So the human free will that is attached to our uniqueness, our individuality, our autonomy and sovereignty, is that mighty. I wish words could even express it. I'm going to read another little bit. I'm going to read another. So the question was asked, please expand on what the readings mean by entity. So this was the answer. As given in the information, the entity is that combination of the physical body throughout all its experiences in or through the earth, in or through the universe, and the reactions that have been built by those various or varied experiences, or the spiritual body of an individual. I'm pausing because that they're first saying that physical body and all the experiences of all the lives, right, have been built by those various and varied experiences, or the spiritual body of an individual. So, an entity, physical body, but also a spiritual body of all the experiences in and throughout, right? And said in and throughout all its experiences in or through the earth, in or through the universe. I continue. That that is individual. That is the sum total of all experience. Then for the entity to create or give or be life, it must be a living, acting example of that is, and not as something separate, inactive, inanimate, or not giving by gradually deteriorating. I'm going to keep reading. There is a variation that may be seen in the material world as an example. As long as life is in whatever may be a manifestation in the material plane, it is a growth. As soon as it becomes an inanimate object, though it may be serving a purpose, it immediately begins to deteriorate. Be an entity. Be a living entity. The soul is the God part in thee, the living God. An entity or soul is the spark or a portion of the whole, the first cause or purpose. The soul is the body of, or the spiritual essence of, an entity manifest in this material plane. So, being, entity, then for the entity to create, to give, to be life, it must ooh, it must be a living, acting example of what is, and not as something separate, inactive, inanimate. Be an entity. Be a living entity. An entity or soul is a spark or a portion of the whole, the first cause or purpose. The soul is the body of, or the spiritual essence of, an entity manifest in this material plane. The soul is all of the soul is all of that the entity is, has been, and may be. Man in his former state, or natural state, or permanent consciousness is soul. Know that ye are a soul, and do not merely attain one. The soul is an individuality that may grow to be one with or separate from the whole. Choice, choice, choice. Back to as long as life is in whatever may be a manifestation in the material plane, it is a growth. As soon as it becomes an inanimate object or stops growing, it begins to deteriorate, disintegrate. And what is the act of then? Then for the entity to create, to give, to be life, it must be a living, acting example of what is. Isn't this all amazing? This is all amazing. All amazing. You are all amazing. Good morning, Miss Jackie J. I see you in the chat, my dear. Good morning, good morning. Grand rising, good day, good evening, blessed lights. We are going to move now. I hope everybody took that in. I don't believe it needs that much explanation. Entity, being, to create, to give, to be life, to be a living example of what is being. And to be that being is somewhat of a constant state of growth, like what we talked about right at the beginning. When it said, let me go back to that book for a moment. When it said all things, I don't have to, when all things are part of the whole that was the first cause, you'll read about a lot of that in the Nag Hammadi scriptures. The first cause, that first cause is that love and hope. That love and hope that all of creation has aspects of. That love and hope, that light, that vibration, that frequency, that word, that first thought, however you want to describe it. I don't get it. I don't care about the minutia of words. However you want to describe that first instant of that light in the void, that light in the darkness, as all things are really created, a seed in the soil in the darkness, a baby in the womb in the darkness, the first thought, love and hope in the darkness. It was love that came through with hope as the passenger seat going, yes, yes, this is awesome. We're going to hope that all of this grows and is magnificent, right? So that first thought is a part of the being, the entity, the being. Now, when it says, if they're in that state of growth, whatever it may be, action of, the ing, the verb, wherever they may be, it's if they stop that then they start to deteriorate. When they stop creating, stop giving life, stop living life, stop being, right? Now, what's going to be interesting is the book we're about to go into. We're going to be talking about the now. And it's very hard for people to be in the now, right? It's very hard for people to understand that our being is a manifested example of what is, as we just read out of the Casey. to be or to not be, right? This will be in reference to the video that I made about the higher consciousnesses, the levels, the chart. Um, because within that, I continuously said to level up or to ascend, as people use the word, to ascend on the levels of consciousness chart is not a requirement for life. I said it multiple times in that video. There was a reason why I said that. There was, and it's what we're discussing today. To be to be a manifested example of what is life, to create, to give, to be a manifested example of what is, of it is, does not require ascension. And the reason I kept saying that in that past video, which if you have not seen it, I do recommend going and watching it. Um, it's the I We One. It came out this past week. Um, I do suggest watching it because I did repeat over and over again that ascension is not a requirement for life and living. And it's not. It's not a requirement. As we can look around and see multiple examples of how it's not a requirement amongst all peoples and places and things, right? Which is fine. It's a choice, but it's not a requirement. But if you have a consciousness that is a soul through all of your experiences in and throughout this earth and universe, well, then the one requirement is to be, the be, the being, the entity. That is the one requirement. But it's interesting what is attached to that requirement, right? Because when we stop growing, if that beautiful oak tree, the first oak tree that was created out of love and hope, if it just stopped midway, well, then we would not have these amazing oak trees we have of today, right? So there is some form of giving, of experiencing, of participating in life to be. I think, therefore, I am to be. So ascension is not a requirement. I also put that in that video because and I did it. I mean, I very much did it. So I understand, but I'm noticing more so in today's world because of the energies available and the shifts happening and all the beautiful jazz in and out and around. Um, People are putting a lot of pressure on themselves to do this thing ascension, when to live is to be the example and manifested form of it is. Be the action of it is. Oh, drop the mic. Happy Friday. The action of it is. Be. Oh, thank you, Miss Robin. Miss Robin said in the chat that the video that I'm referencing was such a good video. Thank you, my dear. And I will very soon be putting out a video free on the patreon.com, Stars of the Morning Light, for free members and all sorts of members. And Miss Lovely Robin there, a happy hippie in the chat, I will be using all of those, a good portion of all those wonderful graphics that you made for me, my dear. I appreciate that. It is all team effort here at Stars of the Morning Light because, oh, I might be able to read, but I can barely draw anything. So yeah, we all work together. So thank you, Miss Robin. That video should be coming out soon, soon on Stars of the Morning Light free on for the patrons and free members. The link is in the about section. Go on over. Even be free. I'm gonna give some stuff free out because it's the right thing to do right now. It's just the right thing for me to do. Okay, lovely people. We are going to go into, I know like a year ago, actually, probably well over a year, maybe 2 years ago now, I recommended this book to everybody. This is a marvelous book for people to read. As I can't, okay. The Mandala of Being is exactly what we're talking about. Discovering the Power of Awareness by Richard Moss, MD. This is a lot like most, depending on the person, this is usually where I would start them with and recommend for them to read. It's a wonderful, great book. Okay. So consider it. I have no idea how much it costs. I've had it for a while. Um, but we're going to read some sections from it, just little sections. It is a wonderful book. I do recommend it, especially when sometimes it's hard to be when we're living in the 3D and things are complex and we don't even understand our full state of being. I do want to say right now to know thyself is to love thyself. It's that simple. To know thyself is to love thyself. I actually have that tattooed on me. Know thyself. I tattooed it, I think at like 25 or 26, because I knew that was going to be my ultimate goal. I just needed to know myself, like, period. That was my ultimate goal. And it pretty much still is my ultimate goal. To what degree of knowledge do I have of my essence and self? Right. So I knew that that was going to be my ultimate goal. I tattooed it on my wrist so I wouldn't forget. But what I can tell you is you don't got to tattoo it on yourself, but in order to really know thyself is to love thyself first and foremost, right? First and foremost. To know thyself is to love thyself. I have my reasons why I say that. So I'm going to read a little bit of chapter 6, just a very little bit. And I think then I'm also going to read, I have the pages written down. I think the following chapter just a tad. Okay. This is a wonderful book. I just hit my arm. In the course of our lives, all of us are subjected to a progression of influential physical, psychological, social, and cultural contexts within which we develop and continually recreate our interior sense of who we are. Having some understanding of this process gives us a greater appreciation for the suffering we all experience and makes our fears and self concerns a little less personal. So please understand that. They're saying that all of us, all of us, that inner sense of who we are is wrapped up with our all the influences. Edgar Casey talks about influences in great lengths. D.W. Winnicott, I'm not going to pronounce that name right. A doctor out of Britain, probably quite a while ago, asserts that what we call a human being emerges out of an inter- interpersonal contexts. In other words, a baby doesn't exist in isolation, but arises from a matrix of protective care beginning in the womb and extending to the nurture it receives from the mother. From there, it develops a relationship with the world at large. How the baby is cared for determines the internal environment conditioned within that baby, its sense of self. If the care is poor, the individual may never actually achieve or sustaining sense of self, and thus, even in adulthood, will always be searching for itself as a reflection of others and through external circumstances in general. If the care is good, the individual's sense of self will be predicted less on external and more on what lies within, which gives the individual a greater capacity for authenticity and autonomy. In separating the developmental progress of our lives into, oh, I'm going to let that go because it actually then goes into the topic of that chapter, which it separates kind of the influences into like 4 distinct holding environments for when we're young. Please note what was just said though. All of the influences from when we're in the womb to then as we're growing and developing outside the womb can either can either um, can either create usually 2 things. If it's poor, some kind of a poor we didn't receive the nurture and care that we needed, which a lot of us didn't, which is it is, right? It is. So if it's poor, the individual may never actually achieve a sustaining sense of self. And thus, even into adulthood, will always be searching for itself as a reflection of others and through external circumstances in general. To know thyself is to love thyself. If the care is good, the individual's sense of self will be predicted less on external and more on what lies within, which gives the individual a greater capacity for authenticity and autonomy. Before I go on in that book, we're going to go back to Edgar Cayce. To know thyself is to love thyself. As given in the information, the entity is that combination of the physical body throughout all its experiences in or through the earth, in or through the universe, and the reactions that have been built by those various and varied experiences or the spiritual body of an individual. That that is individual. That is the sum total of all experience. Then, for the entity to create or give or be life, it must be a living, acting example of that it is. So, all of those experiences, good, bad, indifferent experiences, now, then, before, always experiences. We're going to move to page 123 in the Mandela Being, Discovering the Power of Awareness. Wonderful book. We're just going to read briefly. To know thyself is to love thyself. This is chapter 7. One of the most obvious and yet mysterious aspects of life is the elusive nature of the present moment. Consider how easy it is to speak about the past or the future. Observe yourself in your next conversation, even one taking place in your own mind, and you will see that you are talking or thinking about something you have already lived or that you anticipate living. We can think and talk about a variety of anything from the past or the future, but about the present moment itself, nothing can be said. Approaching the now by thinking about it is like following a sacred geometry, and I should have looked that up. I'm going to keep going. Our minds may become quieter and quieter, but we can never be fully in the now and still maintain the ability to observe it or comment on it. In the depths of the present moment, ordinarily mental activity stops. Nevertheless, it is valuable to contemplate the now not as an absolute, but as a continuum on which what we actually experience at once in any given moment is varying depths of connection to ourselves, others, and the world in general. Take the example of a kiss. In such a moment of intimacy, we can feel profoundly tender and alive. There is no doubt that we are meeting our lover and simultaneously we feel completely met. Yet if our minds are caught in the past and we are comparing this present relationship to former relationship or worrying about where this kiss might be leading, our lack of presence causes the kiss to lose its potential richness. Hmm. The simple fact is that the simple fact is that whereas our bodies are always in the now, our minds may not be. During the most of ordinary life, we live shallowly, so lowly, in the present. Our survival psychology makes us afraid to risk opening fully and directly into our immediate experience for fear of being hurt or veering out of control. By judging what is appropriate or right, we restrict our capacity to perceive and accept our experience as it is. When our minds are not really in the present, we are more or less blind. We encounter our most profound sense of now when there is no separation between the experience and the experiencer. The subject or I and the so called external or objective reality become a single state of being. This state of consciousness has been called unified, unified cosmic God realization or self realization. Such experiences of oneness are the essence of all mystical states, and the desire to enter these states directly is the root of spiritual practices of all kinds. This is a wonderful book. I will hold it up again. I do recommend it. Mm, by Richard Moss, MD. So we're getting to the end here. We're going to put all these parts together. We're going to put all these parts together. Edgar Casey told us what an entity is, what a being is, right? And there is some form of growth there, but also to create, to give, to be life, to live, to grow, to be the manifestation of it is. Well, then, lovely Dr. Richard Moss just told us, to be in the now is to experience and be acknowledging and aware of being the experiencer of the now is to essentially live as the manifestation of it is. This is not from me, folks. This is from, very powerful, wonderful beings. Beings, the action of experiencing it is. That's all. That's all. That's when we put it this way, it doesn't sound too hard now, does it? Right? Doesn't sound too hard. Doesn't sound too hard. To know thyself is to love thyself. So much of the it is, by judging what is appropriate or right, we restrict our capacity to perceive and accept our experience as it is. We encounter the most profound sense of the now when there is no separation between the experience and the experiencer. An entity, apparently, a human being, you beautiful stars, you beautiful, beautiful stars. It is. We are a manifestation, an example of it is, as we are experiencing the it is in the present now, as we keep going because there's an ing attached to be, which is the act of doing in the present participle that brings it forward. It's a continuous doing of being in the it is in manifestation form, having an experience as the experiencer. Oh my goodness. To be. To be. I know, folks. Happy Friday. So basically, because I'm going to end on a poem by Rumi. I'm basically trying to say, A, you already are doing it. You are a human being. You are an entity. You are the manifestation of it is. You are also in the now all the time. We're in the now right now. Right now. Right now. Oh, there it went. Right now. Right? But often our minds, the consciousness that is also with our soul, right, is usually thinking about the past or the future. Usually based on a lot of fears, or the fear to be in the now and experience as the experiencer as it is. We deny ourselves, restrict ourselves from experiencing it as be, hmm, as be, based out of fear of maybe not having the control of what's going on, whatever the fears may be, right? Maybe if I practice the be and acknowledge that the be is more present than anything, I might, I don't know, lose control. I might not understand how to operate and do the next action even though that being is a continuous action of thyself, individual, full autonomy and sovereignty of the it is of our original love and hope creation. So, this was a lot on your Friday. I am really trying to emphasize A, you're already doing it. If you're breathing that sacred breath of yours every day, every moment, thoughts in, thoughts out, actions done, actions not. If you are breathing, you are being, right? And so when I said ascension is not a requirement for life, it's not. To be, though, be, ing, be. That is. That is. That is the only requirement, truly. And we just went all through is what is being, what is it to practice and appreciate and understand and not redirect or restrict our beingness, as in the now, experience as the experiencer. And now we're going to end on a beautiful poem by Rumi. Happy Friday, everybody, you beautiful beings. I love B. I do. I do. This is a beautiful poem by Rumi. So this is the essential Rumi. This is a new copy that I have. I've had multiple copies of this. many copies of it. This is called Be Melting Snow. Totally conscious and apropos of nothing, you come to see me. Is someone here, I ask? The moon, the full moon is inside your house. My friends and I go running out into the street. I'm here, comes a voice from the house. But we aren't listening. We're looking up into the sky. My pet nightingale sobs like a drunkard in the garden. Ring doves scatter with small cries. Where? It's midnight. The whole neighborhood is up and out in the street thinking. The cat burglar has come back. The actual thief is there too. Saying it out loud. Yes, the cat burglar is somewhere in this crowd. No one pays attention. Lo, I am with you always. Means when you look for God, God is in the look of your eyes, in the thought of looking, nearer to you than yourself, or things that have happened to you. There's no need to go outside. Be melting snow. Wash yourself of yourself. A white flower grows in quietness. Let your tongue become that flower. I will let you all go with that. Happy Friday. Have a great week, everyone. Be melting snow. Love you all so much. Cheers.